In each altered state, his muscles so surreal. Trip out, John Strongman. Greeting, my babies. Welcome to Slammin' Stand number 26. Deliver you the latest John Strongman Haiku, which is probably one of the greatest contributions to literature of the 21st century. The 21st century has a long ways to go, so everybody has many chances to outdo that great contribution to literature.
I think Strongman Haiku is like the high point of the show now.
I believe so, yes. That means I just have to write more of it.
Yeah, now you got to do a weekly Strongman Haiku.
And then we must analyze it, you know? I mean, with the passing of J.D. Salinger a few weeks ago, you know, a whole new literary school must now open up. I mean, now that he is up in the heavens and he can no longer hide from the public, there is no longer drama or literary students clamoring to invade his chateau and find out who he was. Although the stories he wrote were definitely much more fascinating than who he was, I presume. How are you doing today, Fredo?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Ah.
You were going through a cold.
I've got a wicked sinus infection. I feel like somebody drove a railroad spike through my third eye, and the locomotive is now just rolling over it. Rolling. Now, if it was Bull Nakano who drove that spike through my third eye and she was rolling over me, I would feel ecstasy, pure ecstasy. But instead, I got a fucking sinus infection. Oh, well.
You were sick enough to watch Raw. 2 hours.
This is true, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, is it 2 hours? 2 hours, 5 minutes.
2 hours. Yeah, we were in Vegas with our friends Diane Zana and our godsons. A belated 21st birthday celebration for my godson Eric. And the last day I got a really wicked sinus infection. We got home Monday night, and I felt so out of it, I did something I haven't done in several years. I just turned on the TV and stared at Monday Night Raw for 2 hours. I have not done that in, you know, a normal state of mind in a long time. I can't even remember when the last time I sat through a whole episode of Raw without fast-forwarding through something.
Did you stay awake through the whole thing?
Yeah, barely.
You didn't change
I mean, I was barely awake, but I stayed awake through the whole thing.
You didn't change it at no point during the show?
Let's see, did I change it at all? I don't think I did.
Wow.
I don't think even during the commercials I did.
Not even during the women's match? You watched the whole thing.
I watched the whole thing. Now let's see how much of it I can remember. What really stood out to me was I actually dug the Sheamus and Christian showdown at the beginning.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I knew where it was going. I knew Christian was going to eat it. But I thought it was well built. I thought, you know, Christian got the audience behind him. They popped big for him, which, you know, made his downfall look all the more tragic, you know. I thought it was a pretty cool way to open the show.
Yeah, now that he's going to be out of ECW.
Yep, this is true. ECW, it's curtain call, babies.
Yeah, he's going to get buried everywhere else now.
Yeah. And I was surprised to find that, what's-his-face, the guest host, the NASCAR guy.
Yeah.
Carl.
What's-his-face?
Yeah, Carl, what's-his-face. I actually thought he didn't do too bad a role. I mean, you know, nothing people are going to remember in a few weeks, but I thought he seemed comfortable in it, and he didn't seem like just somebody clueless.
Are you going to watch the show that's going to be hosted by Jewel and her husband?
By who is that?
Jewel, the singer.
Jewel?
Yeah, Jewel.
The singer Jewel is going to host Raw?
She's gonna,
no, that's a joke, isn't it?
You know, when I read that, I think it's got to be a joke by Meltzer, you know, because there's no way they're going to have Jewel and that her husband.
That would be hysterical. I would watch that.
You know, the great thing, they're going to have Cheech and Chong, and they interview Cheech and Chong, and they have no idea they don't know what WWE is. They're like, we don't know anything about them.
Now, I thought Cheech and Chong was already to have happened. I've been waiting for that. That's the Raw I really want to see.
I don't know.
I've always been a huge Cheech and Chong fan since I was about 13 years old.
Yeah, I don't know how they schedule these, but they're coming up, and Jewel is coming up with her husband. I'm guessing her husband might be a WWE fan.
Possibly. Maybe he's Johnny Fairplay.
Well, because he's a rodeo guy, I mean. Kind of goes hand to hand, I mean.
Wow, Jewel.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. That makes me think of the time when Stone Cold Steve Austin appeared on Conan O'Brien and read one of Jewel's poems. Remember that poetry book she came out with when she first hit it big?
See, they should get Conan O'Brien. That would be a good one. But I think he's got like some sort of deal where he can't go anywhere for a while.
Probably.
Yeah. So what else do you remember from Raw?
Well,
because I only remember the Shawn Michaels part, and that's about it.
See, that six-way, that elimination tag.
No, I didn't even watch the elimination tag.
Did you just see Shawn Michaels have his meltdown? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's all I saw, and I thought that was great. I didn't watch it. I don't watch anything else on Raw nowadays.
That's pretty good. Well, the six-way, I mean, the three-way tag elimination. See, I'm even flubbing up what that is.
I think they have a name for it now, don't they?
I dug it, but it didn't have to go as long as it did. Yeah. I mean, basically the story was Shawn Michaels having his meltdown as a result of it, and I lost track of how many commercials they went to by the time that match was over.
Yeah.
And the thing I kept on thinking, like, okay, is this match going to end? Is this going to end? I dug CM Punk's rant on the subway guy in the audience. For those of you who didn't see it, Punk was going to go out and punk, what's-his-face, that guy who lost all the weight on the subway commercials.
Jared.
What's his name?
Jared.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, Jared.
They teased like he was going to, punk him and maybe do the head-shaving thing, but, of course, DX came out. And I guess the live audience got into the match okay. Yeah. But as far as, basically a television angle furthering the story, I just thought it went a little long. Other than that, I thought it was good, and I thought Shawn's meltdown was good. But the only thing is, when they show Michaels walk away, it doesn't look very poetic, that bull-legged walk he has. Painful to watch.
Yeah, he's got to have some sort of, I don't know, when was he always bull-legged?
He has been for a long time, but I honestly don't remember if that was something from the beginning of his career or something recent.
I think it's more noticeable now because they do so much backstage stuff now.
That's true. I mean, when they show him walk away, they should just show him waist up.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I thought that was pretty cool. Michael still has it, definitely.
Yeah.
He hasn't. Yeah, he's probably never going to lose it. It just, whenever I watch him work, it seems to me like he's really hurting. And I'll be honest, I don't have the most observant eye. There's a lot of things, even after watching wrestling all these years, there'll be things people catch that I don't. And watching him do his moves, I say, man, he looks like he just hurts.
Yeah.
Now.
We're done with Raw.
What else do I remember of Raw?
Are we done with Raw? Is that it?
We're done with Raw. You know what? I watched the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
I remember remember the Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase, Randy Orton potential breakup, Orton jobbing, but you know what? 2 hours of Raw isn't worth an hour of talk. So let's wrap up the Raw talk, wrap up the Shawn Michaels talk.
I thought this was a 2 hour Raw is War recap. That's what it would have been like.
Well, for those of you who just endured, 2 hep cats talking about Raw, one of them with a sinus infection, we will reward you with skipping right over TNA, because neither of us watched it, as we usually don't. And we'll talk about the big news of the weekend.
Wait, how do you know I didn't watch it?
What?
How do you know I didn't watch it?
Well, I just assume.
Well, that's right. You're right.
I had a feeling. See, if I was in Vegas and I played Fredo odds on whether he watched TNA or not, I would have left Vegas a rich man.
Yeah. I don't even know when it's on half the time. I know it's on Thursday.
All I know is it's on Thursday night and it's going to be going to Monday nights.
Yeah. They need to do a little more to get me really back into wrestling.
Yeah, and there's very little inspiration there.
Well, actually, you know what they could do is actually put some wrestling on the show.
That would be a novel concept, actually.
Considering they're usually doing like 17 minutes of wrestling on their show.
This is true, and a lot of talk.
I think we're done with our TNA talk.
Yes, we are done with our TNA talk. Now, the name of the day in professional wrestling, not just in Lucha Libre, not just in Mexico, but in pro wrestling, I think Mistico is the news of the week. I think this was one of the most sudden and coolest rudo turns I have ever seen. Who knows where it's going, but this guy looks like he's been released and is just letting out his inner rudo.
Yes, I bet CMLL doesn't even know where it's going right now.
Probably not.
Considering they always switch they don't even know what they're going to do on their Dos Leyendas show, so they're a little bit behind on the time. I wonder
how far ahead are they thinking with this? I mean,
well, when they did that whole national tournament thing, I kind of thought they were going to do like a feud between like Nuevo Leon and Mexico City or something like that.
Yes.
Because they were building it towards Volador versus Mistico, and I thought, okay, they're going to turn Volador, or they're going to turn the Monterrey guys to feud in Mexico City as heels, and then be faces in Monterrey or some other part or whatever. And all of a sudden, it was the other way around. Mistico turned.
I know, and
which was actually a better idea.
It was a great idea. Yeah. I did not see it coming. I remember somebody just alerting me to the match on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to check it out, and I thought, oh my God, they unleashed this guy. He looked like a kid in a candy store. It looked like he wanted to be a rudo all these years, and suddenly they said, you can go heel tonight.
Well, I think it's been building up for the last year because he's kind of been complaining a lot about the fans booing him. So I don't know if it's if he was complaining like at work.
It kind of reminds me of The Rock, the Rocky Maivia. The fans booed him, so they turned him heel, and it worked.
Yeah,
and eventually he was the most popular wrestler in WWE.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen with Mistico, but you never know.
Well, it's hard to tell where it's going to go. Like you say, CMLL has kind of had a spotty track record for a few years as far as planning ahead. But it sounds like they might have put a little brain work into this.
The one good thing is Mistico and Averno look kind of cool together for some
They look great together.
Yeah.
That was the thing. I was told before I actually saw the match, I was told Mistico turned heel.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to picture him in his traditional Mistico costume that looked like a piece of divinity candy or something like that. And I said, how is that going to get over as a heel? And when I saw he gave himself a whole new paint job, just totally went Earl Scheib on us and, painted everything, including the fenders and the headlights.
Yeah, well, he added the little pointy things to the mask on
that
last match we
bitchin'.
saw. Yeah.
That was bitchin'. I mean, that was an awesome tag match. And I mean, he went right out there just being a taunting rudo.
Mm-hmm.
Then the match I saw that both Steve Sims and Dave Musgrave pointed out to me, also on YouTube.
Yeah, the one Dr. Lucha gives 5 stars.
Yes, that was an awesome...
It wasn't 5 stars, though. It was.
Yeah. Well, you know me, I don't give things 5 stars.
Yeah.
But I will say it was bitchin'. I don't know if it was bitchin' on a 5-star level, but I thought that was just a great example of using a match just to further the storyline. I mean, the tag match, I will say, was good enough to establish a Mistico versus Volador Jr. feud, but the singles match just cemented it. I mean, Mistico just went all out, just taunting Volador. The way the first 2 falls were both disqualifications. One, where Volador gets his mask ripped off by Mistico, resulting in a disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
The second fall, Mistico ripping his own mask off when the referee wasn't looking and tossing it to Volador, causing him to get disqualified. Also revealing when he, in traditional, Lucha mode, he, of course, when he ripped his mask off, he covered up his face, but he revealed this great bleached blonde hairdo that just gave him this great heel shocker look to him.
Mm-hmm.
And the third fall, I loved the way he sold it when he went to put his patented, in fact, I should know this. What's the name of his patented armbar finish?
La Mística.
La Mística.
Yeah.
I love the way he went to put the move on Volador, and Volador just slipped right out of it, and the way Mistico just looked at his own hands like, in melodramatic form, like, how did he slip out of my lock? And then, right after that, Volador Jr. slaps his very own submission hold on him, and Mistico instantly submits with it. Yeah. This was just an awesome way to just,
you figure they're
put the cork on the bottle and just let it ripen. Now this is
well,
cool.
The only bad thing now is that they're already starting with that whole thing that he's not a rudo or a technical. He's on his own, and that's always that's kind of like where you start kind of screwing around.
Yeah. Well, didn't he state I am a rudo after that match though?
He said he's not with anybody. He's on his own.
Okay.
They have
interesting.
There's rudo, technical, and then some of the guys call themselves universal, where they're either heel, they'll fight anybody.
Kind of in the old Rene Guajardo.
Yeah, like if you hear his promo at the end, he's talking about he'll challenge anybody, whether it's Volador, Sombra, Ultimo Guerrero, Casas. He said anybody, but that's kind of like you're a tweener basically, as opposed to being like elite, the main heel.
And with rudo and technico being specific styles in Mexico, where here in America, if you're a heel, you're a dick. If you're a face, you're a good guy.
Yeah.
In Mexico, they're specific styles. So does this mean if Mistico wrestles a rudo, he's going to wrestle like a technico?
So basically, Universal is basically what Dr. Wagner's been doing for the last 5 years. We're going to see a lot of posing and stuff like
Interesting
that.
way to put it, because, he has all the rudo gestures down. Pat.
You know what I actually liked about this whole thing was towards the end of the tag tournament, when they were finishing up the match, there's a post-match promo where, it's not Volador and Mistico that starts the whole feud. It's actually Terrible and Averno who get everything going.
Yes.
It's Terrible telling Mistico, hey, you might have beat him, but you cheated to beat him. How about giving him a shot at your belt? And then Averno grabs the mic and he's like, yeah, you know what? Why don't you show this guy what us in Mexico City are all about? And that's how they start the whole feud. So like two guys picking at them.
This is true.
Great.
Further, I think that's half the fun. Is it was a surprise in every fashion. A surprise that Mistico would go rudo, and a surprise that it would set he and Volador up against each other right away.
Yeah.
Now, who knows what the Booker men are thinking, behind the walls of Arena Coliseo and Arena Mexico. But do you think at this point they're thinking the anniversary show to be Mistico versus Volador, a Puestas match?
Yeah, I think, what I actually think they should go with? Considering who ended up winning, I think who was one of the more popular guys in the tournament, and somebody who they could actually turn face again. Not necessarily turn face, but because he's kind of a liked rudo.
Mm-hmm.
They could have Atlantis versus Mistico for a mask match.
That would be money.
Yeah. That would actually draw.
That would actually be really awesome.
Because the way, if you remember when Atlantis turned heel, it wasn't because he was turning on the fans. It was because the fans stopped rooting for him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I actually would go with.
Mistico versus Atlantis at the 77th anniversary show. That would be awesome.
Volador is not going to put his mask on the line so soon. So, and I can't really see them going with that for that long of a period.
This is true, and that would be one of those guarantees where everybody going to the match would know it was Volador dropping it, where if it was Mistico and Atlantis, everybody would be going, Which one? That would be almost worth taking the plane trip to see that fucker live. That would be an awesome match, Atlantis to Mistico.
Like I said, Kurt, just pack up your bulletproof vest and we're there.
Wear my 420 T-shirt to let people know I am user friendly.
Yeah, and wear bulletproof vest, everything. Wear a helmet, one of those protective helmets or whatever. And
scream soy gringo all the way from the airport to Arena Mexico.
Make sure you don't take a lot of money in your pockets and everything.
I'll just take them in traveler's checks.
We got some callers, Kurt.
Who is the caller we have?
Let's see. We got a caller. Caller, you're on.
Am I supposed to do my run-in first, Bixie?
Oh my gosh.
There's somebody
Talk
else
about Apuestas matches. This is...
Yeah, speaking of taking a plane to see a match, I think something's happening in late October that's worth anybody taking a plane match towards.
A plane match?
Is that when you and I have Apuestas matches, Dr. Lucha?
A plane to see. I mean, Apuestas match featuring two of the most legendary Southern California independent wrestlers ever.
Vandal Drummond.
And Lucky Pierre.
And Lucky Pierre.
In the dreaded Playlist versus Playlist, and in honor of the feud, I thought I'd introduce some background music for Kurt, if I could. But then again, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just keep things the way they are so Kurt and I can have a civil conversation. But a little bit in the background of probably his favorite song ever.
Oh.
You don't even need the lyrics to tell that Afternoon
Dion back there.
Afternoon Delight is coming on the radio.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
And straight to your playlist.
Afternoon Delight. I still want to sue the people who wrote that song. I want to take a civil lawsuit out on them. Oh my God!
Torture, pure torture.
That song nearly ruined my summer.
Well, it's going to ruin your October night coming up when Mistico Nuclear is representing me.
Oh my God! Let me guess. You guys are going to be coming to the ring to that tune.
We're going to have everybody in the fan is going to have a boombox hidden under their chair, and they're all going to be pointing it at you.
Oh my God!
Wait, are you doing this at Crank It Songs or something so you can have a ring?
Actually, we're probably going to do the match at Caro's in West Covina or Bray or somewhere.
That would be pretty awesome, actually.
We'll be fighting in the scrambled eggs and the spaghetti.
Their pancakes blow. Maybe that should be the punishment for whoever loses the match. They have to eat those pancakes to the tune of the Afternoon Delight.
Is Bixie on?
Yeah, no, I have a question, though, for Kurt. Are you on a different phone or something?
I'm sorry?
Are you on a different phone than usual? Cause you
yes,
sound
I am.
different.
Does it sound like crap?
No, it sounds fine, but you sound a lot different.
Well, the difference is probably the sinus infection that I was talking about as the show opened.
Okay, I missed that, because your voice is definitely
like John Henry drove a railroad spike right through my third eye, and now I am seeing stars with an aura all their own. As I'm picking at the fruit for my kitchen, I see that they're actually morphing into protein powder, getting the bigger picture, getting optimum protein here. It's all going to the sinus. None of it's going to my muscles. Yeah?
Hey, Kurt, you don't sound like a gay Buddy Wayne today, I guess?
Oh, I must be losing my step.
I know.
Now you do.
Okay, now I sound gay again. Okay.
Well, now you don't.
I was going to say, if I hear the ghost of Charles Nelson Riley scolding me, I know I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, why aren't you downtown working against Cassandro tonight?
Is Cassandro here tonight?
Yeah, it's the second night of Valentine's Day at Lucha Vavoom.
Oh, damn, I wish I could check it out.
Well, maybe Fredo will go after the show and challenge Cassandro on your behalf.
See how Cassandra might like Caro's.
he likes almost anything these days. He's easy.
As long as he likes the payoffs of Lucha Vavoom, I guess things are okay. All is well. I still yet to attend a Lucha Vavoom show, and I gotta get with the program one of these days.
Hey, Bixie, Odessa says he just today, for the first time in a week, actually left the house and went someplace. Okay. So what's this white stuff all around your house?
Oh, we have had a lot. How much snow have we had here? I don't know. I know I didn't get any mail today.
Wow.
So that's not a good sign. Yesterday we did get the mail. Even today was actually snowing. We did get mail.
If you go out of the house and go to the 7-Eleven or whatever they have in New York and places 7-Elevens, is there actually anything on the shelves?
Oh, we have 7-Elevens. No, I actually have a 7-Eleven a few blocks from me, but I don't know. No, we did all of our shopping in advance.
I have to say, in San Diego, we must have the only 7-Eleven in the whole world that opens at 7 and closes at 11.
You have one that still has the original
San Diego?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was thinking more like someplace like Wisconsin or...
On Poway Road near the Poway border.
I had no idea any of those were left.
Yep, there's one. You know, when you were describing the Mistico match, Kurt, I kept thinking, now that's how Kurt used to do it.
Oh, my gosh. Now you're going to
the ring challenges, the taunting the fans, the taunting the opposing wrestler.
Now they're really going to hate Mistico.
Yeah, it is actually getting me kind of nostalgic, though I never had the physical prowess of Mistico.
Now let's go back to our favorite topic, Kurt, star ratings. I gave Mistico Volador Jr. a 5-star rating.
I would say it was...
And those of you who heard Figure 4 Daily yesterday know how I came to that. That's another story.
Now, I'd say the match was thoroughly bitchin'. I don't know if I would call it a 5-star match, but again, I haven't utilized the star system since the 1980s. But I think
yes, after a famous dispute over one match with me.
Well, here's the thing: is I thought it was a great match, and I would if I was going to give it stars, I'd give it 5 stars, but not for the reason most people would give a match 5 stars, because it did exactly what it was meant to do.
Boy, that sounds like me describing my rating yesterday.
Okay, because I know I heard part of the show, but I don't know if I heard you covering...
It was the Young Frankenstein versus Godfather theory of 5-star movies, 5-star matches.
Oh, I definitely didn't hear that, because I would have remembered that analogy. That would have been sweet. I remember you talking about, God bless you for bringing up my brilliant idea that if you were to get sued over the Dr. Lucha name, that you would have to change your name to D.R. Luch.
Luch. That's a great
God
joke.
Bless you for bringing that up, by the way.
It is a great joke. And by the way, who's that guy in the picture with the goatee and the beard on StanTheEmbryo.com?
It's just like a bunch of people with a goatee and beard.
No, the one without the gray hair and the goatee and the beard.
There's like 5 different goatees in that.
Yes, but only one is front and center. Still with the skinniness of his youth.
Oh, Lord.
Cut, right?
Alfredo, you must visit a barbershop every week.
Me? I haven't visited a barbershop in a while. I might get that suburban caveman look going again.
You look fine. Not that being bald for reasons beyond your control is a bad look, but this look suits you better.
I thought I looked like that old comic book character Henry when I was bald. Except I had a mouth. Henry.
I actually know who you're talking about. That's scary.
I know, you look good with the short and curly hair. You don't look as, I don't want to say hippie-ish.
Yeah.
As you did with the long hair.
Yeah, it's going to take me about another 2 years to get the hippie look back. If I should choose to pursue it.
I always presumed you were more of a hippie Jimmy than a hippie hair kind of guy anyway.
Yeah, actually, you know me very well. I definitely, when I watched Titanes in the ring when I was a kid, I kept wishing that hippie Jimmy would be the one getting in there and doing most of the match rather than hippie hair. Hippie Jimmy was the one always sent in to assist hippie hair whenever...
Yeah, he was definitely the subcommandante of the army there.
Yes. But yeah, I thought the Mistico versus Volador Jr. match did exactly what it was meant to do, to really just cement and establish the whole storyline. And I don't know about if you saw the same thing I did, Steve, but does he look like a guy who's just been waiting to unleash himself in this role?
He looks like he's having a lot more fun at this. He's looking like he's released from a certain amount of chains.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been thinking.
We're holding his character back.
My favorite spot in the match is when he went to put the Mystica armbar on Volador and slipped out, and the way he just stared at his hands like these masterful hands, the artwork has been, taken from the palms. I just thought that was so bitchin'. And I was asking Fredo this. What do you foresee? Actually, both you, Dr. Lucha, and Bix, what do you foresee? Do you think they're thinking ahead to Volador Jr. versus Mistico at the 77th anniversary show? And are we all going to go if a Mistico Apuestas match happens?
I like the Mistico versus Atlantis idea. I think that would be cool. I don't think that Mistico Volador Jr. would be the anniversary show match.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like even though Atlantis has been around so long, it still, I feel like it still seems too obvious that Mistico would win. I mean, I know obviously, we have Santo and still his, you can still, his mask matches are obvious, but not, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's like, I feel like if you're going to do a really big Mistico mask match like that you're better, I don't know, that they need to find someone more interesting.
Who would you suggest?
I don't
There's
know.
nobody bigger than
The good thing is if before the 77th anniversary
Atlantis is really probably the best pick, actually. But
yeah.
Right. I mean, this is just pure fantasy. Like, if I was going to book, say somebody said, okay, you're booking Mistico versus Atlantis, Mask versus Mask in September, I think the first thing I would do is I would try to pull a Blue Panther on people and have a Mask versus Mask match where the obvious winner actually lost.
Oh, to, like, maybe build up Atlantis that way? Like,
yeah, to kind of swerve people and make them think, well, anything could happen.
Well, who would Atlantis be the obvious loser against, though?
Strongman.
Oh, wait, Strongman's going to go undefeated, man.
I like that. And reveal that Strongman's face is actually a mask.
Yeah. Strongman will never lose.
He'll take it off and it's Alfredo underneath.
I'm only one of his muscles, man. What are you talking about? It's like, we're like
there are happy pharmaceuticals. There are happy pharmacists. There are happy drugs shooting through those veins. Mexico, the economy must have risen since he arrived. The veterinarians are so happy because they can sell their horse tranquilizers and their horse steroids.
But you better hurry because Hector Garza is in town also tonight at Lucha.
Oh.
So there may not be many left for you in Los Angeles pharmacies if you don't hurry up.
I didn't even think about that when I saw that he was announced for the show. How did he get in the country? Did his deportation order expire?
I get since he's been working in the country, I will presume that he never did really get deported and he just served out his jail time.
I remember reading he did get deported.
Well, that is what we had heard. That's what we had been told. But it flies in the face of the fact that he's now back working and working
unless
in the U.S.
He was able to get through easier through the Tijuana.
Theoretically you could, but I've crossed that border 100 times, and there's times when they've, like the 30th time, 30 straight times they wave me through, and the 31st, and they pull me off to the side and search me physically to see if I have drugs.
Well,
so you're taking your chances when you go through the Tijuana border.
Well, Wikipedia says he was deported, so that's one thing.
So if Wikipedia says it, take it with a grain of salt.
Well, I would have thought so too, but if he were, he wouldn't be flying into the U.S. to work.
Yeah, and especially with Lucha Vavoom, since they're more professional about these things.
Yeah, I'm sure they handled all the paperwork and paid all the back fines.
Maybe Garza just put on one of those faux baby face smiles and just said, "Oh no, you misunderstand. That was my evil relative, Umberto, who took those evil drugs into America."
Wait, Umberto Senior or Junior?
Junior.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe customs is a lot more relaxed these days, and you can actually walk through wearing luchador masks, and they'll just say, "Who are you?" And you can say,
"Maybe he meant."
I have a Físico Nuclear, and they go, "Pass right on through."
Yes, we know you stand for good, not evil. And you don't listen to terrible songs like Afternoon Delight.
Yes, meanwhile, everybody else at the border crossing the Suez goes running the opposite way in horror.
Oh, that reminds me. Where did the whole Hector Garza is a licensed medical doctor thing come from?
A prank somebody played on him.
He studied at the same school Dr. Lucha went to.
No, I mean, because it was for years... It was this thing that was sort of accepted as the truth.
Well, do you believe every time they say Mistico Seminarista?
No, but I'm trying to remember. It was this... not just
El Seminarista del Infierno, which I didn't realize that you actually could study to go to teach people how to go to hell.
I like that.
Maybe Hector Garza mesmerized the guard with his disturbingly tiny pants.
Yeah, he just put up the stop sign and said, "Stop! You will not search me." took off his
as he walked through.
Took off his pants and his shirt and just walked through.
Cassandra was the guard that night.
Cassandra is downtown working Lucha Vavoom, of course.
And that's Cassandra who rocks, who I have yet to see live. In fact, I have yet to see Pimpinela live, who was, I think, one of the most underrated wrestlers in Lucha Libre in the 90s.
Fredo and Kurt, did you know of the big FCW show in July of 2008 when it came around, 7 or 8?
Yeah, we knew right after.
The real big one?
Yeah, we knew right after.
But not before?
No, I think I knew like about a week before that it was on.
Was that the one at the Pico Rivera Sports Arena that drew
that was
people?
This was the LA Sports Arena that drew like 6,500 fans and $200,000 at the gate.
Is that the one where Cassandra lost his hair
before
debuting with AAA?
Yep, that's right. The night before he debuted.
Yeah.
And of course they disappeared after a while.
Yeah.
I would have thought that this show would have been a Kurt magnet, but I guess it didn't attract him.
Kurt, maybe if I was feeling a little more perky tonight, I would have made it for a good Vavoom show. I got to take the dive one of these times. Yeah, don't know why I haven't attended a Vavoom yet.
I have a question for you guys about the Vavoom guys. What do you think of T.J. Perkins / Puma / et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I think he's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen him twice on Pro Wrestling Guerrilla shows. I think he's a great worker.
Yeah, even better than Joey Ryan?
I like Joey Ryan better.
I don't know
anybody who has a 1970s gimmick, anybody who did a asthma inhaler gimmick, that gets my vote.
But those tights, that uniform.
That's what it's all about, 70s porn star with a very hairy chest. I mean, somebody who can take his gimmick and laugh at himself full force. I mean, no, he's definitely cooler than T.J. Perkins. I'd rather see Joey Ryan.
But what about T.J. Perkins as El Bombero, which you have not seen yet?
That's what he's wrestling as tonight.
Yeah, I have to confess, I've seen a picture of him as El Bombero, but I have not seen him wrestle as El Bombero.
Well, no, he's a stripper fireman.
A stripper fireman? Yeah, that's the picture I think I saw.
Yeah, he actually has a lot of charisma as Bombero. It's one of those things. It's one of those masked gimmick guys suddenly has lots more charisma under the mask.
Yeah, but how do you strip when you don't wear anything more or less as your ring gear anyway?
I think I saw he had more stuff on when he did for his entrance.
I mean, I can see how Hector Garza does it, but
yeah. Well, what I dig about Joey Ryan is he looks like one of those guys you knew in the 70s who thought he was all that but wasn't.
Oh, that was me.
Well, my friends liked me having around when we cruised Whittier Boulevard because they said I looked stoned all the time, and they theorized that because I looked like I was stoned, the chicks would dig us because they thought we were holding.
But people listening to this may need to know a key fact. Was it the Montebello area of Whittier Boulevard or the La Habra area of Whittier Boulevard?
I grew up in Fullerton, the Sunny Hills area, so it was definitely La Habra where all the...
those are two worlds apart from each other.
Totally two worlds apart. No, these were more the upper-class stoner kids and the surfer dudes cruising Whittier Boulevard on Saturday night.
Dixie.
What?
He's describing you.
Oh, stop it. Actually, I have another question for the two of you, though.
Yeah.
Is it true that Kurt, that you once dubbed Dr. Lucha here an international man of mystery?
I'm sorry, what's that?
No, that is true. That is quite true. Okay. On a Brian podcast, because at that time we had not corresponded since the Peace Festival, so it's 12 years.
That's amazing to think it was that long.
No, it wasn't quite that long because of the Karadunching, but there was a long time between the Peace Festival and the Martine bio.
Yeah.
Where we didn't communicate at all.
Oh, I didn't know that it was that long.
Really? Yeah, it went that long. In fact, we have not seen each other face to face since the Peace Festival. We've corresponded and talked frequently.
How far away are you two guys from each other?
About 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hike. I mean, it's not like Pomona, which is 7 or 8 hours away from here.
He has taught me that Southern California is a lot smaller.
You have to go through security to get to be allowed to live in Pomona.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember who it was who actually penned you the Man of Mystery, because that was a question fed to me by Brian Alvarez.
Oh, I thought you came up with it.
No, somebody actually wrote and said, "Why is Steve Sims an?"
No, it was probably Odessa. That is a very Odessa term to use.
Ah, okay. I wonder how he knew the story.
Well, it wasn't a secret. I was so busy working out here in California, I didn't hardly leave the house and work for about 10 years.
Yeah, and it was right after that podcast when you and I started working on the Martin Cardagian bio.
That was fun. This bio I've been working on with Konnan has been fun, but it's also been it's just taken forever.
Is it done yet?
It's done, and the rewrite is almost done. I've got about 3 more hours left of the rewrite.
Oh, you're gonna
so is this all you, or did Dave?
Oh no, I did it all from scratch.
Okay.
So virtually all of it is like original research, even though I later found out that the stories that I originally researched were already on the internet anyway.
Wikipedia?
Googled.
Where on Wikipedia?
Well, I mean, some of the stories, like, when you describe the Triple Mania match and the Roberts match, I mean, the original research is I saw the match the first time it aired. I wasn't there live. And I talked to somebody who was there, a couple of people who were there. And, it's original research, but it's original research that 10,000 people have done before me.
Right.
I mean, you cannot do a bio of him without going, that's essentially the peak of the bio.
Now, are you doing this in conjunction with Konnan? I have interviewed him to clear up a couple of things, and we're going to get together and do the last edits together. That is going to be so cool.
Have you asked Dave if the Ernie Ladd bio is ever going to come out?
If what?
If he's ever going to do the Ernie Ladd obituary?
I haven't asked him that.
Yeah.
He may ask me to write. The thing is, he may ask me to write it.
That always annoyed me. He did all the research, and then because of UFC buying Pride, he forgot about it.
Well, yes. write a bio. He's not opposed to running other people's things. And
no, because he did all the research, though. I emailed him about it once. He was like, "Oh, I did all the research. I talked to all the people. I just never put it together." And now it's been however many years, and
well, as we were saying in last week's episode of Slam and Stand, when we were at the Wrestler Reunion Convention,
Kurt is in the bio of Konnan, by the way.
Oh, he is?
Oh my gosh, is his most feared opponent?
No.
The most.
There's not many people know how much influence Kurt and Dan and Dave Meltzer had in the real late 80s, early 90s, as far as suggesting luchadors to work in other territories.
Oh,
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
You talked about the great match that Konnan and I had.
No, I didn't want to bring that up.
I went in there and I grabbed the mic and said, "Okay, I'm a chicken hawk and you're a chicken." Only old school Looney Tunes fans will recognize that, but I thought it was clever.
No, I think that's one of the great. I will never ever say that Rey Mysterio Jr. wouldn't have gotten to where he is without he's responsible for his own success, but there are those who were around at the time in the late 80s and early 90s who remember Kurt so avidly pushing him to Dave that Dave passed on the recommendations to people that were looking for high flyers.
In fact, I'll never forget, I actually introduced him to Dave at the Auditorio, and he wasn't wrestling on the show. He was just hanging out, and that's when he had, like, the shoulder-length surfer hair, and
Dave or Ray?
Dave or Oscar?
Yeah, Dave was in his surfer phase when he was smoking lots of weed, that kind of stuff. No, Oscar. I introduced them, and then
Dave adopted him, and that was that.
That's it. So Ray Meltzer Jr. Yes. No, and afterwards I said, he's that wrestler Colibri we've been telling you about, and Dave just looked at me like I was ribbing him, just like, that guy's not a wrestler. That guy's tiny. And at the time, he probably weighed 120 pounds soaking wet.
There is a famous picture of him hanging backstage when in his debut match, and if you haven't seen it, you would be just, there's no description to tell you that can possibly tell you how young he looks.
Yeah. I should post the pic. I think I might have posted one or two of the pictures he had with the wrestler Astucia, who they billed as Telstar on the Johnny Legend Hollywood Heavyweight Wrestling Show in 1990.
While I'm hijacking the entire podcast, I'll throw one more thing in about Kurt in the bio. I took out a section that had you in there too.
Oh dear!
Come on.
I need all the ink I can get, man.
At the time, I was telling who Konnan was in his training class with, and the name, this one wrestler's name came up, and I said, and then I went off to a side paragraph saying, this was the guy that was going to be the biggest star in the history of professional wrestling anywhere in the universe. You cannot believe what people were saying about this guy in the late 80s and the early 90s. Kurt Brown, for one, would sing his praises in the Viva La Lucha magazine, et cetera, et cetera. And yet, this happens in wrestling. Just never hit the big time. And who I'm talking about is Thunderbird.
Oh, my God, yes.
He was going to be it. I mean, the it.
As I recall, he looked very good on all the Tijuana shows, but whenever he was in a match where they said, okay, all eyes are on you, look good tonight, he would just get nervous and just not perform well, if I recall correctly.
Well, something has to explain it, because boy, did people rave about him in the late 80s and early 90s. Really he was the one, as good as they talked about Rey Mysterio, they talked about Thunderbird even on a higher plane.
Yeah, and we dug him just as Thunderbird. I know they gave him another gimmick briefly in AAA that didn't get over. But the Thunderbird gimmick was a very, one of those really subtle masked characters that, like a Rayo de Jalisco, who had a very simple mask, very simple look, but just was really cool. He came off as a tough motherfucker in the ring, have no idea if he was or not. Really good flyer. There's something very raw looking about him. And, yeah, I guess it just never happened. Another guy I really dug there from Tijuana was a guy called El Cardenal. And to be honest, it wasn't so much his work that stood out, but he would end the match if his team was going over. He'd end the match with this cannonball tope that just literally looked like he was being shot out of a cannonball.
Was his gimmick a red bird or a priest that was about to be pope?
A red bird.
Oh, okay. I'm just clearing it up.
Hence,
well, it could have been.
Aren't there are a lot of cardinals, though, aren't there? That's a weird way to put it.
Just like, there's been a number of Piloto Suicidas. Only one that I've ever seen, but I know that name's been used a lot. But yeah, El Cardenal, a lot of people have used the name. The coolest one being El Loco Cardenal from Peru. From Los Colosos del Ring, El Loco Cardenal was this guy with this white boy with this huge afro who was always led into the ring by an orderly. He'd be in a straitjacket. The orderly would let him out of the straitjacket. He'd beat the shit out of the orderly, and then every match he'd get submitted. He'd get submitted in every match, and then he'd proceed to beat up his orderly again. It was one of the coolest gimmicks I ever saw. Except that they didn't put him over. They really should have put that motherfucker over big every motherfucking time.
Yeah, I just thought of something. I realized that, because that sort of reminded me that's the type of gimmick, I realized that I have never heard your thoughts on Glow.
Oh.
And Wow, but all Glow and Wow.
Wow. No pun intended. Wow. Wow, I watched very little of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe I didn't give Glow a fair shake, because you got to remember, it aired the very year after I discovered All Japan Women. Very first All Japan Women match I ever saw was the Battle of the Crush Girls, the first one. And
what an introduction.
I was watching it with my brother-in-law, and that was back in the days where there weren't multiple near finishes. And we were seeing move after move after move where we said, this has to be the end of the match. This has to be the finish. And then one of the girls would kick out of it. And we're just staring at these two skinny gals who are probably half our size, but are 5 times as tough as either of us. And so Glow, I looked at it with very biased eyes.
What did you think of the booking, though? And the gimmick?
The gimmicks were cool, but I was a bit of a wrestling snob back then. Unfortunately, I would actually like to see them again, because I think I would appreciate it a lot more today. I mean,
man, I always pictured you as a Hollywood and Vine fan.
Yes. Or Mount Fiji. She was pretty cool. Her most famous, does anybody know her most famous news story outside of Glow?
Mount Fiji?
Mount Fiji, yeah.
I remember hearing something a couple years ago, and I can't remember what it was.
What it was she's having a bridesmaid party, and there was a news story that, the people at the party were getting out of hand, and the cops came to break it up, and they fought off the cops. Mm-hmm. And they were all arrested and facing assault charges. Well, somebody across the street was videotaping the whole thing, and basically it was just a bunch of thug cops, chasing everybody out of the house and smacking them around. And somebody had to be taken away by the paramedics, and one of the paramedics told one of the police abuse victims that I saw somebody with a camera in that house over there. And so the charges were thrown out, and they even won a pretty hefty civil lawsuit against the police department. And again, I think it was Cerritos is where it happened.
Wait, so which one was Mount Fiji?
Cerritos? That's the teenage home of Shocker.
That's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about it. Maybe Shocker.
That's where he learned to say, "Take it away, John."
Maybe he was, take it away, John. I love it. Now, maybe he was the diabolical one who phoned the police and said, there are some very evil people having
the world is small, but it's not that small.
Having not watched much of the CMLL in a while, how is Shocker now? Has he regained some of his previous form?
Go, Fredo. Go on this.
He's pretty much living off Strongman now.
Oh, boy.
Pretty much Strongman's guy now. I mean, Kurt and I just pretty much think he should be like the Fred Blassie to John Strongman.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a very apt way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah,
I think his new gimmick is going to be he's going to do the stop sign and put his shirt on.
Yeah. And he's added a lot of weight too. So, but he's been pretty chubby for a while now. So.
But has he more or less kept his nose clean from what people have heard so far?
He's not no-showing, I'll say that, for whatever it's worth.
He's been showing up a lot now ever since John Strongman showed up. I think he realized he's got something good now.
Yeah, maybe he's realizing this could be my last chance to hang in there. I guess if I had a John Strongman next to me and I thought, okay, I could take less bumps and just, live off this guy's, newfound laurels, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I'm interested to hear what Bixie and Fredo thought of the Mistico Volador Jr. match.
I did not get to watch it yet because I do not like watching stuff on my computer that much, and I have not been able to locate the remote for the dock for my MP3 player that lets me watch my videos.
Do you have any pets?
I have no one ate it, as far as I know.
Blame the pets.
No.
Well, how about you, Fredo?
I thought it was good. I thought the tag tournament was way better though. The ending of it, the promos and all that. But the match, the
final match.
Yeah, the Mistico Volador match. I kind of thought was, it was good. I wouldn't give it 5 stars though.
You who so sadly were not able to participate in the chat last Friday night. What did you think of the finish? Do you think a clean finish was a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I actually thought that was a good. The finish was fine. I thought the finish was perfectly fine. I just thought there's a lot of weird.
I seem to be in the minority. That does seem to be the majority view.
I just think there's something weird with their TV now. Like they're editing a lot of weird edits during the third fall for some reason.
Normally, I don't know if I would have liked the clean finish, but I think it really established Mistico as like a punk. And one, just the way he sold not being able to clamp La Mystica on Volador Jr.
So when's the title match?
Yeah, good question.
Maybe.
And it does remind me.
What I had heard was that one of the things they were considering, and I think they're still considering it, is having Mistico and Averno challenge Volador Jr. and Sombra for the tag titles at the March 19th show, which is, just 5 weeks away.
Yeah,
and if you looked at last week's Ross de Lona, Averno kind of was really promoting that match already.
Yeah, so that would work. I mean, then you could go Volador versus Mistico a little further down the line.
Oh, actually, by the way, I got to interrupt since you mentioned Ross de Lona. For anyone who subscribes to the podcast of it, check the folder where it downloaded to, because I just, a couple days ago, it downloaded the last 40 episodes.
Really?
Yes. So I guess you use iTunes, so check that. That it might have suddenly downloaded a ton of episodes. I've had that happen with other podcasts too. That sometimes the feed will get screwed up.
Yeah, I will see that too. Of course, the one I remember greatly from last year was the one where they had. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the one where they interviewed Pierre Roth Jr. at home.
Oh boy.
Oh,
that was rough.
Wait,
with his daughter, right?
Yeah, with his daughter. It was. You know, there's no entertainment value in it. It just is very, very sad.
Yeah.
I remember meeting Pierrot on a show in Pomona in 1993, and I mean, I couldn't say I really knew him or anything, but one of the things that I have a fond remembrance of, both he and Atlantis were on the show, and I've been to a number of shows where if you have big names like that, sometimes they kind of shine the local boys, and those were two wrestlers who were just really nice to all the locals. And Pierrot just seemed like a guy who just had this lust for life. I mean, he seemed like a really hardy guy. And I remember Bobby Bradley's son must have been about 5 years old, and he was teaching Bobby Bradley's son how to do Hindu squats. And it just actually made me really sad.
In 93? Bobby Bradley would only been about 21 at the time.
Yeah, and he already had a 5-year-old kid.
He had like 6 kids by then.
Probably, yes. That might be right.
Bobby Bradley started early, you know.
Yeah, that was the night I did the short-lived RUR gimmick, the Rossum's Universal Robot gimmick, which I would love to give to somebody else.
So short-lived, it lasted one match?
Kurt, you were a robot?
Yeah, I was a robot. It was awesome.
You never brought this up? Come on.
Yeah, it was a pretty bitchin' outfit that Antonio made for me. For those of you in Southern California, Antonio Alvarez, the awesome mask maker who makes all his gear on just a little, sewing machine that looks like he just picked up at Kmart or something like that, but makes some of the most beautiful gear. But yeah, that was a famous empty arena match at the Boys Club in Pomona because Cesar Sando Jr. was promoting the show, and Cesar Sando Jr. was a great, great heel, as Dr. Lucha will back me up on that, right?
Correct. But remembering to put the posters up and tell people.
Exactly. He did put posters up. There's just one problem. He put the wrong date on the posters.
Oh, wonderful.
So there were, I can't remember, I think there was like 30 people in attendance of that show. So if you were one of the lucky people walking by the Boys Club and said, oh, there's wrestling tonight, I'll walk on in, and you actually got to have your own empty arena match with a 6-man featuring Pierrot Jr. and Atlantis. And they had a ball. They just went around chasing each other and ripping each other's masks off, and then Cesar Sando magically, at the end of the match, had a door opened on his forehead, and it hit an artery, and he said, oh, I am bleeding. I must get out of here fast. I must get stitched up because I am bleeding terribly. Needless to say, there were no payoffs that night because the promoter had to go to the hospital in Ray Evans fashion.
And who did RUR wrestle that night?
I teamed with Bobby Bradley, and I wrestled our friend...
Senior or junior?
What's that?
Senior.
Oh, junior.
Well, if he can do the Hindu squats, maybe he can do a tope suicida.
Oh, my God. No, I think even back then if they said you were going to team with Bobby Bradley Sr., I would have gone into a Great Depression that night. No, being Bobby Bradley Jr. against Thunder Machine and Wayne Haystacks.
Oh, Augie Lawyer returns to the podcast.
That's right.
But by the way, you might like this, Chris, that they're actually on the recently canceled show Dollhouse, the latest Joss Whedon show. The Big Evil Company was named Rossum after Rossum's Universal Robots.
Oh, no way!
Yeah,
I can dig that. I did that gimmick after just seeing a photo still from the play Rossum's Universal Robots that I think was done in the 1920s, and the robots just gave me. The picture of the robots just gave me nightmares in the same way the flying monkeys in The Wizard of Oz gave a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I dreamed up the gimmick. I don't think I did it much justice.
Gabe, can we have a poll for Get Still Gives?
What's that?
Flying monkeys still give nightmares. Every time I see flying monkeys go by my window at work.
It's weird. The only villains I had nightmares about,
the next night.
I wasn't actually scared of in real life, but they still were the focus of my nightmares, like Dr. Claw on Inspector Gadget for whatever reason. I was not scared of.
That's fascinating.
I was not scared of, but as a little kid, my nightmares constantly involved Dr. Claw.
Trying to get you.
That's interesting. my nightmares, there used to be this show on when I was a kid called Hobo Kelly. She was like one of these cartoon hosts. And she was a woman who had this hobo outfit on, and she had this thing called the toy machine, where she would, draw a kid's name from a basket, and whichever kid's name she drew, won the toys in the toy machine. And the toy machine was this big giant box, and it had this big grinning mouth that the toys came out of. She would dump garbage in the top of the machine and then crank a lever, and then toys would shoot out of the mouth. And the eyes looked so evil, and the mouth was just this hideous grin that I had nightmares that it would be stalking me on our front lawn when I was a kid.
Oh, boy. Oh, speaking of contests, do we have a winner?
Nobody has responded to this.
How many?
Well, it's because I think you have the wrong game. I think the answer in 1975 is, the question is, what famous woman wrestler appeared on What's My Line?
That was in 1975.
You even got
Not in the 70s, no. There were some in the 50s and 60s. I don't think in the 70s.
No, I think in the 70s. I think it's still on YouTube even.
No, this was definitely Match Game. And I have to be honest. I guess offering just the prize of that book and having such a obscure question, I wonder how many people even remember this. The reason I remember this was 1975, before we had VCRs and that good stuff, and it was so rare that any other show did anything featuring a wrestler that when I heard that there was going to be a woman wrestler on Match Game, I mysteriously woke up sick that morning and could not go to school.
Really?
Yes.
By the way, I have no idea what the answer to this question is either, because you didn't tell me, and I haven't.
Well, since we don't have anybody write in.
I was wrong too. The one I remember is To Tell the Truth with the woman wrestler.
Oh yeah.
That's
a great show.
That one I have seen. I have seen that one.
And that's the famous one, I think, and maybe a What's My Line.
The What's My Line was Judy Grable back in the 40s or the 50s.
Oh,
yeah, and who was To Tell the Truth was, who was it? Was it what's her face?
Moolah.
That was Moolah?
Yeah, Moolah.
I think there have been at least two To Tell.
Well, there may have been more than one, but Moolah was surely on it. She was in fact on it.
Yeah.
To Tell the Truth.
But anyway,
it may not be the answer to Kurt's trivia question, but it's what I thought of.
Should I give a few more hints?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You should probably.
It's very unlikely you ever saw her, other than Match Game, that you saw her on TV. The two places if you saw her, the two places you would see her were in pictorials in Wrestling Monthly and Wrestling Review, and on the films that Mildred Burke sold.
Okay. Now, wait a second. Is this a certain female wrestler?
Nope, that eliminates Bull Nakano.
Well, no, wait a second. Wait. So what year was this match? This was 75, you said. Okay.
This was 1975, yeah.
So it's not Misty Blue.
I'm sorry?
It's not Misty Blue Sims.
No, way before Misty Blue Sims.
I don't know. Who would be
Who, by the way, is no relation.
Different spelling, yeah.
She's not your long-lost sister, Steve?
No.
She doesn't show up on your doorstep?
No, and I can make a nasty joke, but I won't either.
Oh,
why?
Lord.
Have you seen a certain film that she made?
No, just a little pun and a little play on words. I'll skip that. Kurt, is it fair to ask for a hint like, was she a panelist? Was she one of the 6 people that Gene Rayburn was smooching around with? Or
she was a contestant.
She was one of the 2 people that were actually playing to win the money?
Yes, and maybe I should just give the answer, because I really don't think...
No, not yet.
Wait a second.
Okay.
You know what? Wait a second. I'm going to look first to see. I don't think you can find any... You know what? Wait a second.
The Match Game 75 is all over YouTube.
No, wait a second. Okay, wait, I have a question. Did she identify... She did identify herself as a wrestler, though.
Yes, she did. She gave her real name, which I don't remember what it was. I remember the first name, but she also gave her ring name. And maybe, I don't know, okay. I am in the room.
Now, wait a second.
I'm in a room that holds all the DVDs, and I'm going to pull out something to add to the add to the booty here.
Now, I got to ask you, in the meantime, if someone had the Mildred Burke bio and looked at the list of of her trainees at the end, would she be in it?
I don't think she was in the bio, but she was in.
I don't
know if any of you guys saw all the old Wrestling Review and Wrestling Monthly magazines.
The women apartment matches.
Actually, those weren't all apartment matches. Those were more the after mags.
Oh, okay.
There was some apartment wrestling in Wrestling Monthly and Wrestling Review, but there was also a lot of, posed photos in Mildred Burke's gym, and some of those gals actually did Japan tours. Like,
did this one?
I don't think she did.
Very interesting.
Okay, if I emailed Steve Beverly, would
he know? People who can answer that will also get a copy of the DVD. I do have to. It'll be a used copy, but it's only been viewed once, so it's still very, very bitchin'. It's Santo en la Venganza de la Momia. Santo and the Vengeance of the Mummy. Ooh. Plus, I'm going to throw in the Andre the Giant DVD that came out. When did it come out?
Andre the Giant Larger Than Life, that one? Whatever it is.
Or is it How I Got Body Slammed by Connect and Learned to Live and Tell the Tale?
And learn to hold my head high.
What I really did to Bad News Alan, and you don't want to ask?
That's a great trivia question in itself, I must say.
Wait, what would be worse than what we know he did to Bad News Alan?
That's why I say don't ask.
Okay. So, you folks, not only will you get the Joe Bebensack book, Wrestling Intellectual.
Pro Wrestling Intellectual, yes. You'll also get a copy of the Santo movie, and Andre the Giant is new in the package, and it features such stellar matches as Andre versus Moondog Rex, Andre versus Black Gordman and Great Goliath, and
Andre versus Jack Evans, Johnny Rods, and Joe Butcher Nova.
That's actually a pretty cool DVD. I like that DVD.
Yes, this is worth doing.
This is back when Andre could move. No, I'm being positive about it. I mean, this is back when he did
the Gordman and Goliath match. I think it's Chavo Guerrero on commentary too.
Yeah, actually, just the fact that it has Gordman and Goliath on it, since there's so little footage of them as a tag team, it's worth going through the research.
So maybe you shouldn't give that away.
And also, the Battle Royal that's on that DVD is really good. I don't think it was
what's that?
The Battle Royal on that DVD is really good. It was WWE's attempt at doing like a lost. I think it was in San Francisco. I think it might be WWE's attempt at doing their own version of the San Francisco Battle Royal.
So, folks, if you got the answer there, you can send it to me. Email it to me at Liger. That's spelled Lyger @AOL.com. Or you could also send it to Alfredo, care of the Slammin Stan website. Oh, great!
I'm really going to remember that and the whole question. You better write. You know what would help if you actually wrote this down on your website.
You know, I'm going to have to do that.
Yeah. You should
when I do the recap of the show.
Yeah, just write the question at the end, like trivia question.
Yeah, I think the booty's going to be worth it. And I'm just curious if anybody's ever going to get this.
I don't think they will. How many people do we have listening anyway?
Like 6,000.
Yeah, I know. Will one of the dozen people who listen to us get it?
There's like 7,000 people listening to the show. What are you talking about?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Send me a screencast that shows that.
Yeah. It's like the most popular show on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, it is. It's way cooler than the rest. This gives you a little bit of everything. This gives you a little bit of Lucha, a little bit of Kitsch. It gives you a lot of Dr. Lucha. It gives you the Bixie Demon. It gives you Alfredo Esparza. It gives you Vandal Drummond. And,
Should we give a secondary question to people to send in that if no one gets the other one, then they'll get the stuff?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Maybe I should have a
Can you make it multiple choice, maybe?
And just the first person who gets it. I don't think anyone's going to get this.
I love it.
You know.
This is what I love. For the longest time, I tried to think of what's a question that people would have trouble accessing, even with with the internet as a tool. There's so much you can find out on the internet today. Trivia questions are much harder to toss out and.
Oh yeah, but
because people can just do enough research on the internet.
Well, here's one for you. Who was Jack Briscoe's after he won the World Heavyweight Championship?
Is this in the New Observer?
Who's his first match against?
I'm sure this is in the New Observer. So.
Yeah, if it's in the New Observer, I'm on there right now.
Yeah, then don't. Come on.
Then don't look.
Nope.
No. How about
he won the title? He won the title on a Friday night at 11 o'clock Central Time in Houston, and by 10 o'clock Eastern Time, he was back in Atlanta to tape TBS. And by the way, Gordon Soley was that's the happiest I have ever seen Gordon Soley was when he introduced Briscoe as a new champion.
Why did Briscoe give him a
they were close friends. They lived near each other. They genuinely liked each other.
Wow, so Gordon Soley actually smiled?
Yeah, he was beside himself. He was so happy. And so Briscoe trots off to the ring, and in the ring is a young and up-and-coming red-headed whippersnapper from Minnesota.
Pretty cool.
Bob Backlund.
Huh.
No way.
Yep.
Who Vince McMahon later picked to be his less charismatic, more non-ethnic Jack Briscoe.
Mm-hmm.
More non.
Okay. I'm also going to throw in something that's going to make everybody just click on their computers and start pecking away at the keyboard trying to figure out this question.
Yeah.
I'm also going to throw in a copy, again, a used copy, but a good copy of the 70s film Laser Blast. Billy was a kid who got pushed around. Then he found the power. Probably one of the worst science fiction movies ever made. So beautiful.
I don't know. I might have to hold out for Sleepaway Camp.
You still haven't watched it?
Wow. That is so worth checking out.
Steve hasn't watched any of the movies you guys.
I've been told the ending is so shocking that I might have a heart attack and I might not make it out of the theater.
I'll attest to that.
That's actually true.
Oh.
Yeah, I did
You will never expect the ending. Ever.
I did not see this ending coming, and I kind of thought I had it figured out, and I did not. It's a very cool B flick. I mean, cooler than most B flicks. Well, it was about 12 minutes past the hour, so I think this is a good time to wrap it up. And yes, I will go a little, maybe give a little more information on the trivia question on the website.
Okay.
Yeah, post the emails and stuff. Just put some work into it, Kurt.
I'll put some work into it. It's about time I do a little work. Well, I hope we did the new Rudo Mistico justice in this show. And thank you, as always, Fredo, for doing the grunt work of getting the show all readied. And thank you, Bixie Demon, as always, especially braving the cold winter that is upon you right now.
It's doable.
And Dr. Lucha, thank you. We are so looking forward to the Konnan bio, for one. And thank you for coming and expressing a further...
When can we expect that?
Before I sign off, there's one thing I want to ask about your appearance on Brian Alvarez's show yesterday.
As long as I see Konnan on Saturday, it should be ready on Sunday.
Okay.
It should be completely, totally finished on Sunday. I promised Konnan and I promised each other we would get together one last time, and it's got to fit in with his schedule because he's flying back and forth to Mexico.
And when you see him in person and you promise him, will you make the cross your heart fashion with a smile like Rudo's doing the tag match?
Right, but yes, I will put one hand behind my back and reach out to shake him with the other.
I like it. I love it. That's great. Now,
but yes, Kurt, you're supposed to tag team with me next Wednesday.
I'm ready for it, man.
So
I can take him.
Kurt?
I just got very dead.
Yeah, I took a jiu-jitsu lesson once, a long time ago, 5 years ago. I don't remember any of it, but
how is Brian going to calm Kurt down now? Poor Brian.
Well, the question I wanted to ask you, Steve, is when you were talking about the Mistico turn, Brian brought up the Hijo de Santo turn, which he described as an epic failure.
I did.
No, actually,
you did?
Brian did. Brian did the first time, too.
No, Brian did, yes.
Yeah,
now,
2 weeks ago.
I keep thinking back on that feud, and I remember I loved his heel turn. I mean, I loved it. Was it an epic failure? Am I remembering incorrectly?
Well, this was when, Promel and Promo Aztec and people were taking things away from AAA, and CMLL was trying to get the AAA wrestlers, and there was a lot of scuttlebutt going on in the CMLL office, and do we wait for the new guys? Do we try and bring in guys from that didn't get drafted to WCW, and they ended up bringing in, like Mr. Aguilar and Ultimo Guerrero and people like that. And there was a lot of excuse me, unrest going on at the CML offices at the time, and they just got tired of dealing with Santos' family, that the rest of the family that didn't like the Rudo turn.
Okay.
And when the family kept complaining day after day after day after day after day to Paco and the guys in the office, they finally says, we're just going to go in a different direction.
Well, did they forget that El Santo was a Rudo ever, too?
This is true.
At that point in time, there was so much value in the saintliness of the old man. The old man was no longer a real person. He was like a myth and a saint and a martyr and a movie star and all that stuff.
And a superhero.
You just can't tame him anymore.
So it was not so much an epic failure as an artistic execution. It was a failure as just being carried out to where they wanted to take it.
Yeah, it did well at the box office at the start, and then as they pushed it more sporadically and had real problems in the office with deciding where and how far to go with it, and whether or not to just give in to the family and take it back.
Because it was, I thought, one of the most creative Rudo turns I have ever seen, and I loved how throughout the feud they not only had, even though Negro Casas was, the focus, I loved the way they consistently utilized Celino as his right-hand man.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally, if I recall, Bestia Salvaje would get involved, and I thought he was great in that role. And God rest his soul.
There were some amazing matches from that whole feud in the tournament.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I so agree.
Like the trios match the next week, the three-way hair match.
In fact, that's some material I do not have on DVD, and while
That's okay. Dandy has it with him right now. He'll give it to you.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. While I try to lessen my...
As long as you can find him a job with somebody.
What's that?
As long as you can find him a job with somebody, he's desperately looking for work.
Maybe we could get him on ROH. Ring of Honor.
Oh, Lord.
Don't you think we can get him on Ring of Honor now? Dandy?
Oh, well, only if Stacy Keibler will manage him.
With Super Park and all those guys win the Ring of Honor.
Oh who have they booked so far? I know Super Park is coming in. Hijo Del Rey Mysterio. Who else?
Blue Demon.
Aluche?
Why are they booking Blue Demon? Jesus.
I think everybody's asking.
He is the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, like it or not.
And Strangler Lewis would be proud.
What if Bruin wins it? Then what happens?
Well, you take it away from him.
Oh, a second thought, I guess I wasn't being sarcastic, because if you look at what little footage of Strangler Lewis exists, he moves a lot like Blue Demon Jr. does. I don't know about shooting abilities, but...
Well, when your finishing hold is a side headlock, I mean, that's, you don't have to move a lot.
Yes. I'll never forget seeing the match of him versus Dick Schickat and just saying, well, one of these guys is doing all the work, and it sure isn't Strangler Lewis. And that's when I said, there is no Santa Claus, kids.
Blue Demon should have figured out at some point that he should only wrestle Santo and Blue Panther. I mean, he did it enough that he probably figured out it was a good idea, but...
Yes, that's a good point.
If you only saw him wrestling those two guys, you'd think he was pretty good.
Yeah, but he's got family problems, too, where, he's got the Coca-Cola money coming in, but he's not giving it the right percentage or so, the real son claims, et cetera, and
does he still have the Blue Thunder energy drink?
Yeah.
Or the Blue Demon energy drink?
As far as I know.
That's why he's the NWA champion.
Ah.
That's the only reason he's the NWA champion, because he's got that.
So when you go with that analogy, then Metro really should be the CMLL champion.
Well, he is improving. He's improving faster than Rouge, I'm sad to say.
Yeah, and I dig Metro. I gotta say, I dig Metro. If I were in the booking office, I would be pushing this guy to the stars.
Steve, are you proud?
Just too cool.
Steve, are you proud that Rouge you somehow got Rouge into the Observer Awards listing?
I am so happy about that.
That is awesome.
And
that is awesome. Rouge. John Strongman.
John Strongman somehow made it without even I don't think anybody's ever seen him wrestle yet.
But for half a year, for my going on radio shows and blogcasts and saying that Negro Casas was the best worker in the world last year, he didn't get any votes.
I know. There was nothing there's so many...
He didn't get any votes for anything all year.
for Lucha, there really wasn't anything.
No, I take that. He and Mistico got something for feud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, well,
But in the current climate, no Mexican match, woman, man, promotion, feud, whatever, is going to win.
But the
Reserve Rewards for a long time.
2010 is young.
Well, the one thing I noticed is that
until they get US TV in English.
Well, the one thing I noticed, though, is that from looking at the results from this year and last year, it seems kind of like the website subscription sort of shifted the results in a certain way as far as, like, being able to download the Japanese matches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That it seems like, if it was just the print subscribers, then, all the more obscure Japanese matches, which a lot of them are now, since people aren't into it as much, and you don't, you know what I mean? That it seems like that sort of skewed that a certain way.
It's more what Dave thinks is was good this past year, because like when he mentioned Kota Ibushi being his favorite wrestler, he just knew he was going to get a bunch of votes in a bunch of different categories.
Oh yeah, a lot of the time, if Dave says something like once or twice that it's like best match of the year, gives it 5 stars or whatever, like that Dragon Gate match in ROH, that was really.
Which was funny because the Atlantis Viano 3 match that won in 2000, he did a huge write-up on it, about a month after it actually happened.
Yeah.
And then he didn't say anything the rest of the year, and it still won anyway.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to test our propaganda prowess and start throwing names.
I'm mostly going to go back this week and watch
Mistico, who probably would deserve the awards, and then we have to get the cult favorite awards, the Strongmans, the Rouge, the Metros.
Kurt, you're on. If you're going to be on next week on Figure 4 Daily, you could start your Strongman for Wrestler of the Year.
That's true. I will have to come. Yeah, I'll start that, and then of course I'll have some Strongman Haiku, and perhaps I'll even do a little Strongman iambic pentameter and see how that works.
See how far you can go.
Shakespeare on Strongman.
That's what Shakespeare on Strongman. I love it. A little soliloquy here and there. Delivered by Shocker. That would be the pinnacle of my career. If
Strongman, wherefore art thou, Strongman?
Oh yes, wherefore art thou? Take it away, John.
I always thought it was weird but cool when a few years ago, Panico came in second for Best Booker.
He had a good year that year.
He did, but I thought it was weird that enough people even knew who he was.
Yeah. Well,
no, it's not something that gets brought up so often, like the booze books for each Lucha promotion.
What you need is you need Slamming Stan to take a official position and push.
That's why all people should listen to it, so you can learn about Mildred Burke history, who the booker is in CMLL, and who the coolest bodybuilder is in wrestling, who the greatest trademark wrestler is, be it Blue Demon, Rouge, Metro.
Let's not forget Shocker's future as Classy Freddie Blassie.
Yes. Bingo. Awesome. And on that note, my sinuses are saying, let me go, unplug me, let me flow.
I just want to add, though, before we go, that I did watch, even though I didn't watch Mistico against Volador Jr. yet, I did watch a really good match today. That for everyone who has WWE Classics on demand, there's a Maple Leaf Garden show up, and the Randy Savage Tito Santana match is far beyond how good you'd expect it to be. It is like
that.
Awesome.
Actually sounds good.
I know they have a lot of good matches, but there's a no DQ match, and it's maybe one of the 5 best WWF matches of the 80s. It is, and it's never.
I can believe that. Those guys in the second half of the 80s were just fabulous.
Yeah.
So for all of you out there, everybody listening, and everybody who's not listening, who just can hear me channeling these words through the multiple wrestlers who are in the heavens or in the depths of hell.
If you see a shooting star.
If you see a bright light moving across the night sky in Southern California.
Or New York.
It is not a shooting star. No way, Daddy-O. It is a heavenly handful of Moncell's powder. See you next week, my babies.